Welcome back, everybody. On your due now, I wanted you to teach me what tyranny is. Remember, when we explain, this takes a little while. You're teaching, but you're also giving examples. We talked about how tyranny is the abuse of power when the government uses their power to harm the people. There's lots of different examples you got to come up with, fictional or real ones, of a government doing that. This cartoon over here tries to represent this idea. Right? When the government becomes a hammer, becomes the hammer of tyranny, it sees the people as nails. So it's essentially saying when you have power, you think about how do I use this? You don't think about the people or what they need. You're mostly thinking about how can I use this power? And that's the fear of the government. When you give the government power, they're going to use it, and they're going to use it abusively. Our goal today is to try and determine if the Constitution protects against tyranny or not. We are going to be analyzing different documents, and we're going to be using that qualifier language we've been practicing. To what extent does the Constitution prevent tyranny? So, as I said, tyranny is the abuse of power or the oppression of the people. Lots of examples. We can look at very extreme ones about slavery of African Americans, genocide of Native Americans, economic inequalities within the country, treatment of Japanese Americans during World War II, limitations on freedom of speech. There's lots of examples of it. The Constitution was created to try and stop that, right? To limit the government's power and limit their reach and limit their ability to hurt the people. So our question today is, to what extent does the Constitution actually protect against tyranny? Does it actually protect the people, or does it fail to protect? And to what degree? It's not a yes or no. How far along the line do they really, really protect? Do they completely protect, or do they not protect at all? Or somewhere in between? Do they mostly? Do they somewhat? Do they hardly protect? So real quick, what are some ways the Constitution tries to prevent tyranny? We've talked about several. I'm going to answer these on the Pear Deck. So you can pause this video if you need to, but we talked about like checks and balances, separation of power, voting for people. All should stop the abuse of power. We're going to look at some cartoons as a class. Looking at this one, do you think the author believes the Constitution is preventing tyranny? So we've got Obama driving his car with a bumper sticker saying, "My branch of government can beat up your branch of government." So I'd say this author probably doesn't believe that this is preventing tyranny. The question is, how far along the line of failure do you think this makes it? Right? If we're trying to say the Constitution prevents tyranny, is this an example of it completely failing, somewhat failing, hardly failing? Where are we putting it? It's probably somewhere in the moderate or so. It doesn't say that he's necessarily abusing power, just taking some of the power from other offices. This is a failure, but maybe it's not a complete failure. How about this one? We got the Constitution being used as toilet paper in the Oval Office. Does this author believe the Constitution is preventing tyranny? Absolutely not. Right? The president is completely disregarding the Constitution and abusing it. So this one fails to protect, but it might be more decisive. It might be an extremely, it completely fails. It's being treated as toilet paper. It is worse than garbage by the president. That is a complete failure of the Constitution. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at lots of sources. Some of them are cartoons, some are readings, and you're going to try and decide where on that line does this document show? Does this document show a decisive failure, decisive protection, or somewhere in between? You're going to use what you're doing today on the assessment tomorrow. So we're going to do a couple together. You're going to read and analyze the document. You're going to try and figure out to what extent, mark it on the scale, and then explain why. Teach me in your own words. Why did you put it where you did? You want to give some sort of example that sort of proves it. So here's our first one. This is from the Constitution. It's qualifications to be a representative in Congress. So first, looking at these qualifications, does this put us in the protect side or the fail to protect side? And then once you've decided which side of the line are we on, how far along the line would you say we are? So if I'm looking at this, This is good. This protects against tyranny, right? That they have to be a little bit older, maybe wiser. They have to be in our country so they understand our people. They have to live in the state they represent. That's all good stuff. That stops tyranny of someone from DC deciding stuff for us here in Colorado, right? So it's on the protect side, but maybe it doesn't go that far in actually protecting. It only goes a little bit in protecting. So I'd put it more in the like sort of balanced category. Now we need to sort of explain why. So on our paper, we're going to explain why we think it barely or only sort of protects against tyranny. So I'm going to write up some stuff on the board. You can write this on your paper. You should pause this video. Here's our next document talking about how, hey, democracy is great. Every few years we get to pick who represents us. Then once the politicians take office, the politicians, are they keep asking people their opinions? Are they still trying to represent the people? No, that's not how it works. Once they get elected, they do whatever they want. They get 2 to 6 years of free reign. They get to do what they want. They don't have to answer the people for years. These aren't representative governments. They're like short-term dictatorships. So according to this document, the Constitution definitely fails to protect. But how far along the line would we say it fails to protect? It doesn't completely fail. It doesn't allow for complete dictatorship and abuse of power, but it definitely fails. I put it in this moderate category. So again, let's try and write why does the Constitution mostly fail to prevent tyranny? And I will write a response on the board as well. So today you're going to work with a partner. You're going to walk from document to document. You're going to spend some time at each document. We don't have to rush to get done. And you're going to try and determine how far along the line each document is, and then explain why with examples. If you need help, let me know.